Hello, everybody. Hopefully, yeah. This is Angel Reba with the Walking the Glass Floor, and we are expecting Judy Hoberman any minute. It's the second day that we talk about International Women's Day week. This is International Women's Day week, and we are having a conversation every single day. Myself, Angel Reba, I am a global CEO consultant, the TV host, and also the president of the Wisdom for Kids Foundation. And we're having a conversation with Judy Hoberman, who is a women's leader. She's the executive director of the Walking on the Glass Floor Foundation, and she's also the president of Selling in a Skirt, and definitely a leader in the women leadership world. And we're expecting her any minute here so that we can have this conversation today as we had yesterday. And we're going to be going over the another of the 7 essential qualities of women who lead, and it's the turn today for authenticity. We're going to be talking about authenticity today with Judy Hoberman. And this is for those of you that haven't seen the book. I know that you're seeing it sideways because of the position of the camera, but it's Walking on the Glass Floor. That's Judy Hoberman's book that basically, there she is. So Judy is here, excuse me. Sorry, I interrupted the conversation. So there she is. I will wait until she requests to join. So here I am waiting for her to request joining, and then I'll bring her in. Allow viewers to request to join. Okay, so here I am. And as I was saying, this week we are talking about the 7 qualities of women who lead. And this is part also of a journey of transformation. So basically the the Walking on the Glass Floor initiative, which is based on this book. There she is. Thank you very much. Okay. Right. So Judy is about to join. This is Angel Rebel, and I am bringing Judy Hoberman. Okay, you can hear me already? Okay, you can hear me already?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, awesome. I think that there's some delay today. Yeah, I can hear you very well, but I think there's some delay. So I'll try to go slowly to make sure that I'm not talking at the same time as you are. So welcome back. How are you today, Judy?
I'm good. Yes, it worked. 1, 2, 3.
Exactly. Beautiful. Beautiful that things work out as planned. So here I am. Today I'm not at my typical office setup. I am actually in a place in the country, southwest of Fort Worth. But I still wanted to, obviously, we all still wanted to reach out to everybody there, to everybody who's watching us, to the entrepreneurs, to our friends, to our relatives, to the people in the corporate world that want to know more about Walking on the Glass Floor and how the Walking on the Glass Floor project and initiative can actually help corporations and can help everybody who is out there thinking that there's a better way to deal with gender equality in the world. So I was announcing that it's going to be authenticity that we talk about today. Is that the case?
Yeah, that's the case. Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. So,
absolutely.
Authenticity is was already showing the book before to our audience, and authenticity is the second chapter, the second of these qualities that women who lead have. And authenticity, the chapter of authenticity in your book, you actually talk about what does it mean to be authentic, what does it mean to be yourself, bring feminine qualities to the workplace, shed outdated stereotypes, remain true to your brand and social media, public relations, and the genuine you. Oh my God, so many amazing things when we talk about authenticity. So what does authenticity mean for a woman that leads, Judy?
So authenticity means how you show up. How do you show up every single day? You don't want to be showing up as somebody that you think someone wants to see. You need to show up as yourself. And people can see right through you when you're not being authentic. If you think about social media for a moment, we read posts about people that say things and that's not true, because not everything is, 1,000,000% incredible. There's other things. So you share who you are, what you do. And when you're an authentic leader, people want to follow you. They want to see how can they become what you're trying to show them? What's the journey for them? How can you take what you have and use it to be authentic and to be a leader?
So would you say that in general, women in the workplace, they are authentic or they are not?
I think most of the time women want to be authentic. And I think sometimes they try to be people that they feel others want them to be. If you go back into the 70s and the 80s, where women were trying to show that they were as important as men were, they even dressed like men. They acted like men. And it's very confusing to themselves and to the men and to people around them. So I think that today women are trying more and more to be authentically themselves. And it's not always easy to be yourself. It isn't, because you have all these stories from when you're a little about who you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to act, and don't tell people how important you are, and don't tell people how fantastic you are, because people should know that. But it doesn't always happen like that. So you really have to bring something to the table.
And do you think things are changing? You were talking about, a few years ago. Do you think that today women are becoming more authentic in the workplace?
I do believe that they are becoming more authentic. I don't think that women are trying to continue to be men or continue to act like men. I do believe that they're taking their own feminine inherent qualities and bringing them to the table. Because if you think about it, a lot of the teams and a lot of the recruiters are talking about the more softer skills, which are really the people skills. They're bringing themselves, their nurturing, their empathy, their generosity, their courage, all the things that we talk about in the book. They're bringing them to the table. So I do believe that women are becoming more authentic, and every time you give them permission to be themselves, sometimes that's what somebody needs. It's like giving them permission to share their brilliance. We shouldn't have to do that, but a lot of times we do need that permission.
There are a lot of industries in which still women are like a minority. They are not present as in numbers as much as men are. Do you think that in general men are trying to allow women in the workplace to be and to rely on their authenticity? What do you think it's maybe the lesson that we as men, we should learn in the workplace to allow them to be?
I don't know if allow is the right word, because it's a very strong word that we can't do something unless we're allowed to do it. But I understand your message and your question. So I do believe that there are more and more men that we call the champions, the advocates, the sponsors, and I do think they encourage women to bring what they have to the table and to share it. Because, there's plenty of times, and I've been in meetings where I am the only female and people are always talking above me, around me, through me. And if I don't, show people that I have something to say, they're going to ignore me. Would a man tell me to, to start speaking up? They might. But I always have, games in my head of what I'm going to play to make sure that I'm going to be speaking up. But there's a lot of women that'll show up at a big conference room and won't say anything. And so sometimes there are men that will say to them, you have such a good idea. Why don't you share that in the meeting? So it gives them an opportunity to actually show what they want to say, instead of waiting till after and then saying it to somebody else, and then somebody else gets the credit, and that whole cycle. So I do believe there are more and more men that are encouraging women to share their brilliance and to be more authentic.
Thank you. Yeah, you're absolutely right. When I was using the term, it's a strong term, but probably I was carried away for the unfortunate reality that we live in the corporate world, or in general, is that, sometimes there are a lot of extraordinary women, really powerful, that they could represent, if they could represent an extremely powerful asset to their organization, and take their organization and represent, obviously, at the end of the day, better results and more profitability, increased profitability, as many reports from big, consulting firms show. And to that point,
right,
Walking on the Glass Floor, besides being your book, is also an initiative. Again, this is the book, Walking on the Glass Floor by Judy Hoberman, with Stacey Stern. What would you, it's also an initiative that is helping corporations to transform. What kind of transformation would you say that the Walking on the Glass Floor initiative takes the corporation through?
So yeah, transformation is a great word because that's really what it does. When you go through the training, what happens is it's very self-reflective. And so as a woman and as men, because men go through the training as well, you start to realize some of the things that are going on inside, the internal things, the chatter that's going on in your head. You know, don't do this, whatever. And going through the training, it opens a lot of things up. A lot of things that have happened to you in the past, and a lot of things that you are challenged with. And so when you are understanding how this will change you, you know, for instance, there's been times when somebody will say, I really can't be myself. I really can't do this because I remember I was told growing up to do X, Y, and Z. And so as you go through the training and you start to uncover some of the things that happen, whether you grew up in a certain area, in a certain country, in wherever it is, if you grew up with all girls, all boys, there's so many different scenarios. And you realize that when you go into corporate America, or if you are, you know, an entrepreneur, there are things that you are supposed to be doing, that you are allowed to do. And you have to sometimes like open up the wound, like take the Band-Aid and rip it off and say, okay, I'm going to do this. So yeah, there's lots of different things that the training does. It does transform you into better leaders because it's giving you permission to say, I don't care what happened, you know, 40 years ago. This is who I am now, and I want to be this person now. Because sometimes you have to reinvent yourself.
Yes, and about reinvention, you know, these 7 qualities are qualities that, you know, women who lead have in common. And what could we advise women that are in corporations? How can we, or even in small businesses, how can we encourage them to step up and reinvent themselves?
So I think sometimes, Angel, you have to decide what's really important to you. Like, what is it that you want to share with others? Like, I always tell people to go back to their why. Why are they doing what they're doing? And how can you help others to do what they want to be doing? So I always tell people, you know, that you have to decide what it is, who you want to be authentic about it, and then share it. You know, some people will say to me, why is it that you don't talk to, you know, I always say I want to help 1 woman a day. And people will say, well, what about 1,000 people? What about 1,000,000? No. I know what I can do with 1 woman a day. I don't need to branch out to that. So I always encourage people to come up with your own personal mission statement. What is it that about you that you want to share with others? And that's all part of what we talk about in the book, in the training. But I will say that I also do believe that men need to do the same thing. Men sometimes need to reinvent themselves. Sometimes, you know, if you go back to the playground, boys are like tough and let's, you know, do all these, you know, really physical things, and girls are told to play house and be nice and be collaborative and blah, blah, blah. Both are great. So how do we incorporate both of those and let men and women be able to work together respectfully and, you know, and collaboratively, because those are great qualities that you can put together.
The Walking on the Glass Floor training that we were talking about, is it open for both men and women?
Yeah, absolutely. Because here's the thing, you can't have just men and you can't have just women. You know, everybody says, well, what if we had a company that were all women? Well, it's going to be the same thing that we talk about all the companies that are all men. You have to have diversity of thought. If everybody's exactly the same, you have nothing that's innovative. You have nothing that's constructive. Everything is yes, 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 because we're all the same. So what if we have, you know, men and women? You know, why is it that we have to have laws passed to say, okay, you have to have at least 1 woman, or you have to have at least 1? I think that you need to have both in order to be stronger, in order to be different, in order to be innovative, in order to be a leader, an influencer. I don't believe that it should be one way or the other. I never have. And you know, people will say to me, well, you're just for women. Well, just because I'm pro-women doesn't mean I'm against men. I believe that we can work together and take the assets and take their differences and use them as assets rather than finding all the things that are wrong.
For these men that are leading organizations and they have women, or maybe they don't have women working with them, but they lead those organizations. Why do you think that the Walking on the Glass Floor could be a good starting point to change their companies?
You know, if you go, okay, first and foremost, there's statistics after statistics after statistics that tell you that by having more women in leadership positions, it's going to affect your bottom line in a positive way. So again, that would be diversity of thought. There's one thing that you can't, I mean, if you're in business, that's the thing that people always look at. Then let's look at, you know, let's skip the finances for a moment and let's go to the culture. So if you go through the training, if you read the book, if you talk to people that have been through, you know, some of the exercises, what happens is you start to see why it's so important to have the ability to be the head of your company, to be in the C-level, to be a leader of change. Everybody has to change. You know, we're in 2019. We're still talking about the same stuff that we talked about for decades, but yet we're starting to see that we're allowed to talk about confidence. We're allowed to talk about courage. We're allowed to talk about all these other softer skills that nobody was allowed to talk about. So it's a really good position to be in, that we're starting to open up the door for women to say, you know, I really care about my team. I want to help them do this. Okay, here's the journey. I used to tell people when I would hire people and I would say to them, tell me what your goal is. Where do you want to be in this company? And they would say to me, I want your position. I would say, excellent. Let me show you the journey. If they would say to me, I just want to be, you know, I want to be a producer. I don't want to do anything else. I don't want any kind of stress. I'm like, great, let me show you the journey. Can you imagine if you had people that actually asked questions and then helped people get to where they wanted to be? That's part of the things that we bring to the table as women. So why don't we share that with men? And I'm not saying no men do that, because I think there are great men that do the same thing. So let's take both of us and put us together and encourage each other to open up opportunities.
What would be the first step? So what would be that, you know, maybe you talked about the statistics, and those statistics probably are backed up by, you know, large consulting firms that have conducted very, very thorough, you know, analysis and surveys in different corporations. So what would be that? I mean, you talk about profitability, you talk about culture, and culture is everything. Culture is, you know, what makes you get up in the morning and say, okay, let's help people with my companies, with my business. Yeah, exactly. Let's do this. But still, you know, there's some, as you said, we've been for so many years talking about the same thing. So what do you think would be that particular scenario in which we could openly say, okay, so if you do this, this is what's going to happen? What would you say is the turning point? How can we, you know, help everybody to see that turning point? What would be that turning point? Would it start from like small businesses and then take it to corporate America? What has your experience been?
Well, you know, I mean, you could see a transformation faster with a smaller company, obviously, because it's this group that's moving to here. When you go into corporate America, you're talking about many different levels. So you have to convince, if you're going to change culture, you have to convince this level, these top two levels, in order to change the culture. You can't, and you also can't do it overnight. It's not going to happen in a 2-day training. It's not going to happen by reading a book. It's going to be you know, leaders of the company that say, we want to make a change. So let's map this out, and let's do this, and then let's do this, and let's keep measuring it and seeing how that works. So yes, a smaller company, you can see the change, but if everybody made a commitment to do one thing, just one thing, I commit to mentoring, I commit to opening a door for someone, whatever, can you imagine how that needle would start to turn? Because every single person doing something, even in a big company, you know, think about this. A lot of times during the holidays, companies will they'll sponsor a toy drive, or they'll sponsor, you know, fundraising or whatever. If that company raised, I don't know, $1 million, if that company gathered 100,000 toys, if that company gave meals to 50 families, you are changing. You are making a change. But if you continue to do that every single day, and that's what you do within a company, you're making a commitment, I'm going to change. And as you change this, that's what's going to happen. So yes, I agree that the smaller companies will see the bigger transformation quicker, but I think the larger companies can make a huge commitment that everybody gets on board and says, here's what we're going to do. Okay? The only thing I do want to say, the caveat to all of that is you can't say, I'm going to make a change to bring more women in if they're just picking women. You can't just, it has to be the right candidate. The same way that they would never hire a man that is not qualified, don't hire a woman that's not qualified, because you are setting them up for failure as opposed to success. And that's something that I totally don't believe in.
And do you think that younger generations, they have the same understanding of the gender equality?
Mm-hmm. Right, you went out for a second. Say that again.
Excuse me. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, do you think that younger generations have the same understanding about gender equality than older have?
I don't know if they have the same understanding because they haven't lived through it. But I do believe they see certain things. There are still companies that are all, young millennials that are all male or all female. So they haven't really had that opportunity to see what the differences are. But I think they're starting to see it. And every single day, everywhere on the internet, everywhere on every news channel or news platform or business news, there's something about women. So they're starting to say, like, what the heck is going on? What am I missing here? And so maybe they're already thinking, okay, so if we're all guys here, maybe we should start thinking about this. And there are companies that will bring in a consultant and say, am I missing something? What should I be doing? I want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. Now, again, sometimes they'll go to compliance and they'll say, what am I missing? Help me because I don't want to get into the newspaper. And those are the proactive companies. It's the reactive ones that you have to really watch out for because they've already got stuff that they have to have some kind of crisis management.
We have broadcasting. We have told our audience that it's International Women's Day week. And do you know some, like, when did it start? Why was it started? International Women's Day. Why is it so important for all the women that are working today?
Regardless of how far back it goes and regardless of who started it, I think the importance is that women are sharing the message about it's not just gender equity, it's also the pay gap, it's all the other pieces of it. They want people to understand, but they also want to see the positive side of it. They want to see women that are banding together, supporting each other. And you always hear these stories about, women can't work together. Not true. I mean, there's a minority there. Everybody has experienced something, but that's okay because really what you're seeing are women that are banding together, women that are supporting each other, and you're also finding there's a lot of men that are hashtagging International Women's Day. They're already doing that because they know how important this is, and it's also important to them. A lot of men, they have wives, they have daughters, they have granddaughters, they have cousins, they have sisters, they have, whomever, and they want to make sure that women do have opportunities. My tagline is women want to be treated equally, not identically. That's what it is. Give us the opportunity. International Women's Day pushes that movement even further.
Awesome. So where can we find, whoever is watching us today on this conversation, where can we find more about the Walking on the Glass Floor initiative?
So you can go to our website, which is www.walkingontheglassfloor.com. It will talk about the value of women in leadership. It'll talk about men that champion women. It'll talk about our foundation, because our foundation is tremendous. It's also to empower women to be able to do the things that there are companies, there are women that can't afford to hire a coach, that can't afford to do a training. The foundation is able to support that as well. You'll find information about the book. If you haven't read the book, you should get the book. And also, you should buy the book for a woman that you think is a great leader or coming up to be a great leader, an emerging leader. So that's also pretty cool. And you'll find information about the training. The training to me was something that when we developed it was so personal to us. And yet when we shared it with companies, it was very personal to them. And you watch the transformation. So there's a whole bunch of information. There's a lot of articles there. There's things we've done. There's a blog. There's lots of things that you can watch and listen to as well. So I encourage you to go and and let us know what you think.
Absolutely, and I also have to add to this that, you know, the Wisdom for Kids Foundation is receiving part of the proceeds of the books that are being sold. So, you know, thank you very much. Me as president and co-founder of Wisdom for Kids, so thank you very much for that.
And so, Angel, don't you think?
Kids, yeah.
Yeah, don't you think
ahead.
that for Wisdom for Kids? Don't you think that Wisdom for Kids, you know, that those are emerging leaders that you're working with? I mean, isn't that we're teaching them the same thing, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And there, you know, we have had several, not only conversations, obviously we go to Latin America all the time and we meet with boys and girls of ages from 7 to 15. And we always have a conversation about, you know, what their lives are like and what they think and what they believe about generation of wealth and working and contributing to society. And kids are really smart today. So they understand all those concepts right away. They understand the concept of wealth and wealth generation and what they want to be when they grow up. And it's very important, and we actually emphasize that a lot. It's very, very important to let girls know that they have access to the exact same opportunities that boys have. And we make sure that we do that all the time. So absolutely. And absolutely. And we go to places where we talk about underprivileged kids. So most of those places are families who are run by women. Families who are run by women, and the women do most of the work. Many times. So, you know, we find a lot of, let's say, unknown women leaders where we go and we help underprivileged kids because they run a big part of our world and a lot of the, let's say, of the underprivileged world, to call it in some way. So, you know, besides the book, also with people that go through the training, they also get this wonderful journal. This is from the outside. So, you know, why does a journal make sense for someone that has already taken the training and is going through a transformation personally or as a company?
Well, I don't know about you, but when I journal and I write things down, first of all, I remember them more, but I also have a reference point because I date all the pages and I can go back and I could say, okay, so on March 6th, this is what happened. On February 14th, this is what happened. So you already know that you can go back and make a reference. But it's very powerful when you're doing either the exercises in the book or the ones in the training or after the training, and you get to write things down of what's changed for you. What was your commitment and what did you do that is keeping up with your commitment? So I know, Angel, you've written like a ton of notes in your journal already. And right? Does it not make you remember things?
Oh, absolutely. Keeps me grounded. It keeps me on a journey.
Yes, right. And there's just so much room you can write in a book around the margin. So the journal was something that a lot of people said, I need something to write into, take all these notes because there's so much to learn. And yet once you write it, you kind of like own it. You kind of own it. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Anything else you would like to add to everybody watching us today?
I would like to say, so for all the women that are watching and all the men that are watching that may not be in corporate America, but you are in business for yourselves or you're a solopreneur, just remember that you're also a leader because somebody's always watching what you're doing because they want to be more like you. So, own the title of being a leader and share it with everybody. Let people know what you're doing so they too can call you a leader. And we would love to hear from you. You can, email me at Judy@walkingontheglassfloor. You can make comments on here even, that we'll respond to. And, make sure that you join us tomorrow as well.
Absolutely. So tomorrow is the day of another of the 7 essential qualities of women who lead. And tomorrow is actually the courage day. I love courage.
Yes.
So we're gonna talk about courage and why courage is one of the 7 qualities of women who lead. So thank you very much, Judy, again for your time today.
Thank you.
It's obviously always a pleasure to be here together and to have a conversation and to help all the people that need it the most. So see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. And let's keep on.
You too.
Let's keep on talking about International Women's Day week and about walking on the glass floor. Have a wonderful day.
Absolutely. Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Everybody, goodbye. This is Angel Rebel with Walking on the Glass Floor together with Judy. Tomorrow we'll be back again. I think it's 9 or 9:30 tomorrow, something like that.
But anyway, I'm going to say it's 9:30. I think it's 9:30.
Okay, so we'll be sharing it on our different social media outlets, so you will be able to see it. Awesome. So 9:30 tomorrow, Wednesday, March the 6th. Thank you very much. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye bye.
Okay, bye.